you so much for staying with us, Kakaki, the African Voice, this Wednesday morning. And it's the top of the hour, 7 a.m., that time when we review the front pages of the newspapers, looking at the top stories. And, of course, we do not do this all by ourselves. And this morning we're joined by two gentlemen. One is on site, the other is virtual. Simon Reef Musa is here in the studio with us. Good morning, Simon. Good to see you.
Good morning, Kule, and good morning, Kole. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. I haven't seen you in.
It seems you just disappeared. People were asking where's Nkoli.
Well,
but
I've been around.
Here is Nkoli.
Yeah.
All right.
I
understand that Yobusa Wajere is joining us virtually. Dr. Yobusa, thank you for joining us. He decided to do all the way, where now?
Enugu.
Good morning. I'm in Enugu. We are preparing for the national conventions of the Nigerian Guild of Editors.
Oh, great. Okay, great,
yes.
Great.
In your capacity as a national
General
Secretary. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, at least for making our time all the way from Enugu to join us. Okay, so we look at the papers now.
Thank you very much.
The Nigerian pilot is the first paper we're looking at. Benue Plateau killings. 53 suspects arrested. That's on page 4 where you find details, and it's got some riders. IGP Egbetoku says no fewer than 53 suspects were arrested over Benue Plateau killings. The 31 were arrested for Yelwata attacks, 22 for Plateau attacks.
This Nigeria leads with the story IGP 28 arrested in Benue massacre. 22 others held over Plateau wedding killings. Page 2 has the story.
Police arrest 53 suspects over Benue Plateau killings. IGP, majority of suspects arrested June 22. Group tackles Alago Union over response to Tor Tave's remarks. That's on page 4.
It's the same story that takes the cake off this, on the front page of the Standard Times this morning. Benue crisis. Police arrests 28 masterminds of Yelewata massacre. The story flows from page 1 onto the second page. That's page 2.
Okay, the Daily Trust chose to lead with something different. It says INEC to PDP adhere to Supreme Court judgment.
The Daily Champion leads with a different story. It goes in a completely different direction. Chicago University schoolmate. Properly clear your academic record to stop deepening mystery. Speculations over it. Atiku tasks Tinubu. Says Nigerians deserve answers, not more confusion. You'll find details of that on page 6 of the Champion, the Daily Champion.
And the Authority newspaper leads with 2027 APC group wants Dogara to replace Shetima as Tinubu's running mate. You can check out details.
Okay. 2027, Barrow dismisses running mate speculations, tells supporters to back Tinubu's agenda. That's the top story on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct.
Crisis hits SDP as party suspends national chairman, auditor, youth leader, others. I remain national chairman. Gabam. PDP, INEC meet over national secretary dispute. All of this you find on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper.
And the Observer's Times takes almost word for word the headline that we saw on that previous paper, on the previous paper, saying crisis hits SDP as party suspends national chairman Gabam, others. You'll find details on page 2 of the paper.
The Daily Monitor dismissed DSS suit for being incompetent. Otome praise court. Says a suit amounts to abuse of judicial process intended to muzzle constitutionally guaranteed right to freedom of expression, political association.
Okay, now let's go to the Blueprint newspapers. Israel, Iran, transport fares rise. Passengers stranded as fuel price hike bites. Pages 6 and 8 have that story.
All right, the New National Star, shock as Senate blocks probe of 9.9 trillion naira 2024 budget failure. Approves second extension in 7 months. NAS becoming an embarrassment. Senators Moro, Dixon, Ningi, others kick.
Let's go now to the Daily Independent. To boost growth, Tinubu vows nationwide infrastructure push, pledges expanding livestock economy for jobs, food security.
The Guardian, 2024 to 2025 fiscal policy crisis, project funding, execution stall over poor budget implementation.
Let's go now to this day newspaper, and we have two clear headlines there, but we'll look at the one at the top. Senate approves fresh extension of 2024 capital budget to December 2025. Opposition lawmakers, Nigerians losing confidence in budget process, decry poor performance. Group lampoons National Assembly over budget extension, says it encourages fiscal indiscipline.
Let's check out the Nigerian Tribune. Okay, so let's look at this one. Senators bemoan further extension of 2024 budget implementation to December 31. Seek probe. Ask whether Nigeria is broke. Page 17 is where you have details.
The New Telegraph is the next paper. Ongoing constitutional review exercise in futility, says Sage, kicks against National Assembly states creation move. Page 3 is where you'll find the details of that.
SEC tenure rule, capital market operators jittery over looming shake-up. That's how the business NG is leading. And then you have 7 states break away from NERC, take over power regulation. I bet that's an interesting one as well, captured by the business NG. So let's bring in our reviewers now and see the analysis of the story. We'll begin with the lead of Standard Times Daily Asset, this Nigeria, leading with a similar story. Benue Plateau killings, 53 suspects arrested. I think we'll begin with Yobosa, who is all the way in Enugu. Okay, Yobosa, what do you make of this story? It will seem like after the president talked about arrest and asked questions why people are not arrested after all these killings, we are seeing more and more arrests.
Yeah, thank you very much. You recall when the president visited Benue recently, and he asked virtually all the security agencies leaders who were there, the police, the DSS, the military, the NIA, and civil defense, and asked them, to do everything possible to ensure that those who perpetrated such criminal acts, are arrested and prosecuted according to the law. And the president was there, and he gave a very strong message. And then we are beginning to see the effect of that directive by the president. Just yesterday, we were told that about 53 people were arrested. I do hope that it is not about making headlines. It is about really carrying out the directive of the president and ensure that those who perpetrated such criminal acts are brought to book. Because after that incident, I've watched several videos, that emanated from Benue, and the one of the videos I watched, after watching it that night, I could not sleep. And for me, that shouldn't happen in a society where we have government, where we have federal government, state government, and local government. It is a failure of leadership, and nobody should tolerate that henceforth going forward. So I think the president is right, and the police should do everything, not just for the propaganda, not just for headlines, but making sure that those who were arrested are taken to court and prosecuted, And something that I also saw during the week was the fact that that incident in Benue could have been avoided if necessary steps were taken by the relevant security agencies. I saw a report that says that the DSS, I'm talking of the State Security Services, warned against that incident. They had a report as far as that incident was concerned, and sent that report to the appropriate security agencies in Benue State. But their failure to act on that security report is what we saw in Benue, where hundreds of people or dozens of people were killed in Benue. For me, it is unacceptable. And it is half time we also start punishing bad behavior within the security agencies. In a situation where the DSS, I'm talking of the the intelligence agencies like DSS, send a report warning security agencies in that state that this is exactly what is going to happen, and that immediate steps should be taken to prevent such incidents, by being proactive. And some leaders of the security agencies in that state refuse to act on that security report. For me, I think it is a negligence of duties on the part of the security leaders in that state, and effort must be taken to ensure that we investigate the matter. Those who refuse to take proactive measures to prevent such heinous crime should also be punished. Because unless we continue to punish bad behavior, there's no guarantee that such a incident will not happen again. For me, that is unacceptable, and something must be done on the part of the president or the national security advisors in ensuring that those who refused or failed to carry out the intelligence report given by the DSS are punished.
Okay, Sir Simon, what are your own thoughts concerning this? The president asked that question. I think it was exactly a week ago in Makurdi when he visited the Benue State capital, asking the IGP, why haven't you arrested anybody? And now we have the headline, police arrests 28 masterminds of Yelewata massacre.
Yeah. Well, I think I want to say here, even before the president said that, I have an uncle, claim or sources that arrests have always been made. But once these arrests are made, powerful people just move in, and before you know, everything whittles down. But when the president now questioned why is it that arrests are made, I think the police came out and said. But the question is, why should we simply clap for the police for this arrest? Why don't we clap for the security agencies for them doing what is needful? What is needful is protecting Nigerians. We've seen a situation in which they say self-defense is wrong. We've seen a situation where people have come out to condemn that community policing is not acceptable because for them it will amount to proliferation of arms. So why don't you protect Nigerians? We all know this fact for free that we don't have enough boots on the ground. So it's impossible. Security has always been a collective responsibility. So when it comes to attacks, these ceaseless attacks on Nigerians' community, why don't we allow communities to be armed? We are not saying that you throw guns to everybody in the community. No, you profile them. You know who owns what. So that when these bandits, when these vandals come from the cave and they want to unleash destruction, these few people of the communities that have been profiled, and everybody knows they have the arms, will now provide a first line of defense. They said, no, nothing. And you're talking about state police. Let me tell you, if you bring in state police, some of the governors will manipulate it for their own political end. And that won't solve the problem. So I'm happy that at least the police have come out and say, oh, so number of arrests have been made. But the question we ask, what is the next things forward? I think it's time for the activities of the security agencies to be reviewed. They've been there closely for 2 years. It is time for the federal government to say that, how far have they gone? Because if you don't constantly review their performance, you have this, let's say, fear attitude that some of them may simply embrace. Because as long as you are there, nothing happens. And that's why I was so happy with an interview of Reef when he came and said, oh, people are saying money, funds. The security have always been provided with the much needed funds. But we need to ask, we need to track these funds. What are they doing with those funds? If you don't do it, then they just see it as just a bazaar. So as far as I'm concerned, well, I commend the police for doing what they are doing. Again, what are their plans? What are the security plans to ensure that such, such is never allowed to recur again? That's my own take here.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Particularly when innocent children, women who are in their sleep are attacked. I mean, even if you give people guns and they are attacked in their sleep, ambushed and killed on the road and all that, sometimes there's even little you can do with your gun. So what is important is that, you know, the police and this other security agencies should actually, the government in itself should provide security and, you know, protection
no,
for
you see,
people.
the truth of the matter is that security is a collective responsibility. And it is very obvious that looking at what we have witnessed in the last 10 to 20 years of this insecurity, there is need for you to have a dedicated group in all of these communities, besieged communities that are armed. We are not saying throw gun to everybody. It's not possible. That is anarchy. You profile them, give them the guns, so that they provide a first line of defense. That is all what people are asking.
Okay.
But government are saying, some people in government say, no, we don't need that. Nigerians will continue to be killed because these things have been turned more of politics. Because at the end of years to next election, insecurity breeds because it's something the other people will want to use and say, oh, this thing has to be contained. It will not be contained until government stand up and say we cannot accept a situation where citizens are killed without cause.
Okay, let's move on to another issue now. We've spent quite a while on that particular headline. INEC to PDP, adhere to Supreme Court judgment. Daily Trust has that headline. Yobosa, I'm coming right back to you. The PDP has been in the news for quite a while now, especially the confusion concerning its national secretary's position.
Yes, you remember last week we also alluded to this issue that unless the leadership of the political parties, I'm talking of the PDP, are very sincere to themselves, this crisis in the PDP will linger on. Because otherwise, this crisis would have been better managed if the leadership of the parties are very sincere, because we already have, they already have a template they can use to manage this crisis. You are aware that there was a Supreme Court judgment and said, which came up as a result of the suit initiated by the current National Secretary of the party, Senator Anyanwu. Because when some party leaders met and said they had been suspended, the man went to throw the lower court, the appeal court, and the Supreme Court. And what was his argument? His argument was that his tenure has not expired, and that he was properly elected, and that the only organ that can remove him as National Secretary of the party is the National Conventions of the PDP. And the man went, the case got to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court validates that position and said, look, in any way, that the decision of the party is an internal issue, and things that they already have a National Secretary, they should find a way to manage it until they get to the National Conventions where they can replace all the leaders of the parties. And before them, the guy also got a federal court judgment that his tenure cannot be terminated until the next National Convention of the party. That is the position of the party, and I mean that was the position of the court of the judiciary as far as that case was concerned. And when they were not very clear about the position of the Supreme Court, the party wrote to the INEC. The INEC is the regulatory agencies of all political parties. Parties are a creation of the INEC. And they wrote to the INEC and said, look, in view of the Supreme Court judgment, could you please tell us who is the appropriate persons as the secretary of the party? And the position of the INEC was very clear, that is Senator Anyanwu that is the secretary of the party. So, and recently there was a statement to call for another INEC. The statement was signed by the national chairman, but the signature of the national secretary was not there. And the INEC wrote back to the party and said, look, your communication was not properly documented because the signature of the national secretary of the party is not there, in line with the internal rules of the parties and the rules of the INEC. So I think that is the position. But of course, the national public secretary came up the next day and said, look, there's nothing INEC can do about that, and that is an internal affair of the party. Now, if that was the position, why in the first place did the party wrote to the INEC, about the oncoming NEC meeting of the party? So it was a gamble. When that failed, now they now said, oh, we can go ahead without the INEC intrusion as far as the internal affairs of the party. Yesterday they went to the INEC, and from the report we are seeing today, the INEC said they should go back and obey the decision of the Supreme Court. Now, what am I trying to say? I'm saying that in as far as it is the internal affair of the political party, the party themselves or the leaders of the party should also obey their rules, their internal rules on how they carry out activities within the party. They should also respect the constitutions of their party in determining or in resolving this crisis. And like I keep on saying, unless that is done, I am not a member of the PDP, but we are committed because we are journalists, we are onlookers, we are analysts, we are observers, and we know what is happening. My position is that unless they resolve the internal crisis within the party, and unless the leadership of the parties are sincere to themselves, it might be very difficult for them to resolve this crisis. And the implication is that in the coming election, they might not have they might not be able to prepare for that election. And if it's not the case, they might not be able to field any candidate in all the elections that is that they are preparing for in 2027. And that is my position. And so the point I'm making is that the leaders should find a way to resolve this problem, because we need opposition to be able to put the ruling parties on their tone. And PDP is seen as one of the major opposition parties we have in Nigeria today. This is a party that was in power for years, and because of the selfish interests of some people, that party is gradually being dismantled, being destroyed. And I think it's not good for our democracy. We need strong opposition.
Yes, indeed.
You just saw in one of the reports today that the SDP is also in crisis. Labour is in crisis, SDP is in crisis, PDP is in crisis. So at the end of the day, you just give a feed day to APC to do whatever they like.
Everybody
For
is
me,
in crisis.
it is unacceptable
Yes,
in this space. Our opposition will be a very strong
It will
opposition.
seem like it's a bug that is affecting all the parties. Even the ruling party is also having its own fair share of trouble. Today you hear about whether the VP will still remain with Tinubu in 2027 or not. That's another ball game altogether. But on this PDP matter, why do you think a section of the party, really not everyone, is bent on removing Senator Anyanwu as the party chairman, irrespective of whatever the court says. National secretary, rather, irrespective of whatever the court says. Because if you also look at the meeting between the leaders and INEC, you will see that they said they will go back, consult with key stakeholders, and then meet again with INEC on Thursday.
Well, you see, politics in Nigeria is all about selfish interests. It's not about the people. Like Yobosa said, it's not something, we need a vibrant opposition. A democracy without an opposition, I will tell you, is simply a dead democracy. Because it's a democracy, I mean, it's opposition that will tell you, hey, go this way, we don't agree this. And then those people in power will not know what to do. Now, when yesterday INEC and PDP met, I asked the question, was that meeting necessary? To find out who is the true national secretary, the authentic, the genuine of your own party. You see, Governor Kefas of Taraba led a similar panel to INEC. Please tell us who is the authentic national secretary of our party. INEC told them, it's Anyanwu, Senator Anyanwu. Go back and tell your people. They went back, submitted the report, but there is a faction that say over their dead body with Anyanwu continue. So it's all about ego.
So what's the ground?
It's all about, no, the ground is that who controls the party. Wike names, footprints are just everywhere in the party. And they just felt that as long as Senator Anyanwu remains the national secretary, Wike's hold on the party will continue unabated. So they felt they needed to do away with him.
But the convention is just
the convention is just about some few months ago. Really? But they simply believe that if you allow Anyanwu there, Senator Anyanwu there, and the others, they are going to manipulate. See, all this thing boils down with, if we had a national chairman that was very strong and firm, he would lead the way. But of course, the chairman too is also dancing to one of the factions. That's the truth of the matter. Because this thing is unnecessary. The INEC has come out to tell you that go back to the Supreme Court. They've told you Senator Anyanwu is the national secretary. So if you don't want it, there are coalitions, meetings here and there, everybody is going. Forget it. Go and form your own coalition. We are in a democracy.
So whose position was the party's national publicity secretary, putting out there when
the national publicity secretary
has no hand
of course, is for the other
issues.
faction, those that are opposed to Senator Anyanwu. They don't want him. They want him thrown out.
And we saw the acting national chairman disowning the
of course.
Publicity secretary.
Yes, because he came out to say, no, we can't just allow this thing to happen.
So how can a national publicity secretary...
Yesterday,
yesterday, I need you to be quick with this because we need to move on to something else. Just finish that statement.
When I say that, a source told me that INEC told them bluntly, we've said it, that Senator Anyanwu is a national secretary. He can only cease to be when at the convention or death. So there is nothing. You just go and sort your problem.
Okay, let's leave the PDP for now. We'll talk more about the PDP later on the program. Let's move on to the headline of the Daily Champion. Chicago University schoolmate, properly clear your academic record to stop deepening mystery, speculation over it. Atiku tasks Tinubu. Yobosa, I'm coming back to you. Now, this was all over social media yesterday. And of course, it's made the headlines. A reaction to that has made the headlines this morning. A reaction from the former vice president and former presidential candidate of the PDP in the last election, Atiku Abubakar. What are your thoughts concerning this, Musa?
Well, opinion might be divided as far as this issue is concerned. Some people will argue that now that we are preparing for another election, this issue of certificate will also, crop up again because they've been on it since 1999, when the current president Bola Ahmed Tinubu contested the elections in Lagos State as a governor. The certificate issues came up, and they took it to the various court level. And at the end of the day, the court affirmed that he was qualified to contest election. And in the last election, this issue also came up to the extent that Atiku and other people also hired a lawyer in the US to help them investigate this matter. And the report of that investigation was also very clear. And they also took the matter to the tribunal after the election, the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. And at the end of the day, the Supreme Court affirmed that there was no issue with the certificate. But there are other people who also believe that the issue of this certificate of the president is not too clear, and that the president should also come out very clean and ensure that this matter is put to rest, once and for all. But my position is that even if the president comes out tomorrow to say this is the true position, of course, the opposition, that's their job. They will continue to lash on it and say, look, we are not certified. I think that's exactly what we are saying today, the issue of certificates. And some people believe that it's a very sensitive issue that the president needs to clear. But the president is also arguing that, look, I've made several comments on this matter. I've been cleared by the court. I've been cleared by several panels that were set up. And at the end of the day, I don't have any further explanation to make as far as that issue is concerned. So the president will also believe that it's politically motivated, But by and large, I think it's a running story. I'm sure as we move towards 2027, there might be other angles to it. I think we'll just be watching and see the story unfolding. Because whether we like it or not, there's no position that you take now that both parties will agree. Is either Atiku disagree with you, or the presidents or people will also disagree with you. So it's a conflict, really, and Nigerians are just watching.
All right. Simon, do you think it's all politicking, or, why has this matter refused to go away?
Well, to me, it's more of politics, and all about the campaign for 2027. The question I asked, what are the new facts that I imagine on this Chicago University stuff? It's always been there. It's been there since 1999. The man survived it. And it was hammered ahead of the 2023 election. The man miraculously also survived it. And I'm telling you, ahead of 2027, all sorts of things will be thrown back. What I will advise the opposition, because there is nothing wrong for Atiku to contest. It is his right. Form your coalition, get the opposition vibrant, go for it.
And look for alternative solutions
and
to
look
the
for
problems
alternative
of Nigeria.
Because if you fail in 2023 in stopping him contest, so what are the chances that you will achieve, the same ahead of 2027?
Now that he's even
now that he is even in the corridor of power, he's in charge.
He's not in the corridor of power.
He's in power.
He is in power. The president is in power.
So for now, he symbolizes power.
He's on the
whatever he says, nobody can say no.
Yes.
Okay, Musa wants to weigh in on this.
You said he's in power. Some people will just say that he's the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. I'm sure you know the implication of that.
It's 6.5 a dozen, actually, when you say that.
Okay.
That is on a later mode. But I think that the opposition should get their house, put their house in order.
Exactly.
Be very strategic in planning for the 2027 elections. Rather than, throwing up all these issues that have been on for over 20 years, and there's no new facts, to say that, this is exactly what they're coming up with again. So I think they should put their house. They should be more strategic. They should go back to drawing board and see how they can wrestle power with the ruling party, rather than these model issues that will not help them.
Okay, so let's go to the ruling party and probably wrap up with that. Barrow dismisses running mate speculation, tells supporters to back Tinubu's agenda. Simon, this is coming to you. This speculation about VP Shetima coming back or not coming back, and some other people are even mentioning, names of replacement already. But here we're saying, Barrow is saying, okay, that's the Nigerian News Direct lead this morning.
Yes, the truth is that ahead of 2027, all this idea of who takes over from Tinubu, Muslim ticket, let me tell you this. I think Christians are not threatened under Muslim ticket of Tinubu, because Tinubu is a liberal Muslim. Somebody who is married to a pastor. Even I think there was a report sometime in this day that there even the Muslims are complaining that 62% of the appointments were given to Christians. As I speak with you, since 1999, my zone, that has been the PDP, have not gotten much in terms of infrastructural development, in terms of federal establishment. But under a Muslim ticket, we had a federal university. We had a federal medical center. Though some people say, why are you glorifying? Oh, it's nothing, there's nothing. But why didn't we get it? Why? So the whole idea, let's know that Muslim ticket can never be a threat to Nigeria. I've seen some people saying that it's Dogara, let's balance Muslim, Christian. Everybody is going in for his own personal selfish interest. When you get there, you are not talking about Christians. You are not talking about Muslims. You are talking what comes to your pocket. What comes to the people that are around you. How do you empower them? So nobody should come and tell us this balderage that the issue of Muslim. See, there will always be a challenge.
Okay.
I have read what Hakim Baba Ahmed said. That Tinubu should not tinker with the idea of replacing Shetima. That he should not go against the interests of northern Muslims. Now, to be very factual, and I don't give a damn who thinks what I want to say here, the Muslims are politically superior in terms of organization. And that is why all the ethnic minorities of the north, predominantly they are made of Christians, what have they brought to the table? No, let's be very factual.
Well,
nothing much.
Simon, that's your opinion.
That's my personal opinion. I say it's my personal opinion. I don't give a damn what people say about it.
Yeah, but
I'm only telling you what I know.
I think we're going to need to leave it at that
this
morning because we are completely out of time. I must thank you very much, Simon, for coming on the program this morning. Thank you so much for your time and for your incisive analysis, rather. Not incisive, incisive analysis, that's the right word. Thank you so much, Simon. But I don't go away yet because I needed to weigh in on this issue before we close on newspaper review for this morning. So, your thoughts. This running mate issue, Yobosa, when will it be put to
I think it's unnecessary because people are going about endorsing the president. They're endorsing the president because he's a candidate of, he's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, running mates are picked by the president. The vice president does not contest primaries contest primary for him to be vice president of Nigeria. So it is the president that will contest, and at the end of the day, the president wins the primary as a candidate of the party. It is his own prerogative in collaboration with the political parties that will determine who should be the running mate or who should be the running mate to the president. So as far as I'm concerned, this debate about why not endorse Tinubu and Shetima, for me is unnecessary, and it has no play in. I mean, it has no. There's nothing to justify that the ongoing the unnecessary debate about the running mate. The president will determine who should be the running mate after the primary, in consultation with the political parties. So I think for now, I think we should just put that behind us and be focused on meaningful things, focus on issue of insecurity, focus on poverty, focus on other things that will better the life of Nigeria. I think the media should focus on that because there are so many things happening in our society today and that nobody discusses. And we are busy discussing irrelevant things about running mate to a president when we still have almost about 2 years to the election. For me, it's unnecessary, it's unhelpful, and there's no need to dissipate energy on such issues that has no relevance or that has no impact in the lives
Unfortunately, the media isn't the one throwing this off. The political parties are the ones throwing this off to the media. Okay, but we understand your point, Yobosa. We thank you very much for your time. Do have a great day and stay out there in Enugu and be safe.
Enugu is a nice place to be. Enjoy yourself. Have a great day in Yobosa. Thank you very much. Yobosa Wugarian, the nation's capital editor of this day newspaper and general secretary of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. All right.
Okay, so